So you're playing Genshin, you're doing some 10 pulls, and you get 5-star Clorinde. Now what do you get with Clorinde besides a character that some might say is a better Kaching? Well, Kaching is queen, and we all know it. Well, Clorinde is an electro-wielding sword user who is another character that makes use of Bond of Life. And in this video, we're going to look at the basics of Clorinde. Now, you might notice that we are using the trial Clorinde in this video. That is because I have never pulled for Clorinde, and I actually don't think that I am. I think that her and Nouvellette are going to kind of stay not being used. I don't like her character design that much. Sue me. So you might notice in this video I am using the PNG tuber. I have been wanting to use this thing more and more, and so I figured why not do it here? It's definitely not because I am dangerously close to burnout and I just need a freaking break from being on the camera. Definitely not that. So let's look at Clorinde. So her normal attacks are going to be pretty normal. She does do them a lot. Actually, you're going to be using your normal attacks a lot. In her charge attack, she does pull out the pistol and kind of fire out like almost like a blunderbuss style, like 3 shots, which is really cool that she has her own charge attack animation. And like I said, you are going to be using her normal attacks, but kind of in a different way. So for that, we have to look at her skill. Now, if you look on the screen, there is a ton of stuff on this skill. All of this Bond of Life, this and that, if it's over 100%, equal to 100%, less than 100%, all of this crazy wording over here. And what this simply means is that whenever we use her E, it is going to transform her normal attacks to do electro damage and give her Bond of Life. Now we can also clear that Bond of Life, but if we just use her normal attacks after hitting E, then we are going to see that we are going to be shooting out these electro converted bullets, dealing damage. And we're going to get Bond of Life up to half of her HP bar. Not half of her HP, half of her HP bar. This is 100% Bond of Life right here. This is 100% of her HP as Bond of Life. That is something that you've got to remember, is just because the Bond of Life doesn't take up the full HP bar, at halfway, or what looks like halfway, is 100% Bond of Life. Now, whenever we've used her skill and we've used her normal attacks, then if we use her skill again, if we hit E again, we are going to do a different kind of attack where she is going to lunge forward and she is going to do a much larger instance of electro damage, as well as clearing the Bond of Life. Now, if she has taken damage, this will also heal you. So that super long paragraph that we looked on earlier, what this essentially means is that you're going to hit E, do 3 normal attacks, and then hit E again. 3 normal attacks are going to give you maximum Bond of Life. It's going to give you that 100% Bond of Life. I should stop saying maximum because there is a way to go beyond 100%. If you hit E and then do 3 normal attacks, it will give you 100% of your HP as a Bond of Life. And then hitting E again will clear it all, healing you, dealing a larger instance of damage. So again, E, 3 normal attacks, E again. That is what that entire paragraph is. That is what that entire talent montage of letters and words means. Now, if we look at one of her passives, if her Bond of Life is equal to or greater than 100% of her max HP, her crit rate will be increased by 10% for 15 seconds whenever her Bond of Life value increases or decreases with max of 2 stacks. So we can get up to 20% additional crit rate onto Clorinde with this passive. Now, if we look at her other passive, after a nearby party member triggers an electro-related reaction against an opponent, then this is going to give her the electro damage dealt by her normal attacks, and from her burst is actually going to be increased by 20% of her attack, which has multiple stacks to it as well. So this is going to be really good, and it's going to mean that we want to build her attack even in something like a quicken team. Now, if we use her burst, it is going to do several instances of AoE electro damage, kind of like a buffed up Kaching burst, which I guess is one of the reasons why people kind of say that. But it's also going to grant Bond of Life. This is how you get over 100% HP Bond of Life, and you fully encapsulate that HP bar. Now that's kind of it for her kit. It's not super complicated, although all of those words make it seem super complicated. It's really not that bad. And the team that they give you in this trial is a Chevy overloaded team, which she can actually do really good in because she applies so much electro. I mean, just a ton of electro that she is applying through all of this, through all of her normal attacks after you use her E and her burst. So if you do want to run her in a Chevy team, just make sure that you're giving her somebody like Toma, whose shield pulses out with normal attacks, right? So that way you can cause overloaded reaction. She's going to do so much electro that Chevy alone is not going to be enough pyro. You almost have to equip her, or you almost have to partner her with somebody that can do a ton of pyro damage with her to cause the overloaded reactions to make them weaker. Toma is a phenomenal option. Dia's off-field skill can also be used for a great application. I don't think that Benny and Chevy are going to be enough, especially if you have multiple waves of enemies spawning, like in the Abyss. And if you're going up against like one boss, the overloaded reaction buff or debuff isn't going to last long enough, right? Unless you're planning on one-shotting it, which hats off to you if that's what you do. So you need to partner her with somebody that will have really good off-field pyro application to continuously cause overload reactions to make the enemies weak using Chevy. Now, if we look at this trial Clorinde for artifacts, she is using Whimsy, which is going to be her best set. This is going to give her attack. It's also going to increase her damage for the Bond of Life fluctuation that she has, which is really, really good for her. If you do not have Whimsy, or if you're looking for another set, you can use something like Thundering Fury or Glad, because both of those are going to be very, very good for her. For the main stats, you're going to be using Attack Sands, Electro Goblet, Crit Rate, Crit Damage, Circlet, depending on what you need more of. And if you're running her in a Quicken team, I believe you're still going to be using an Attack Sands because she really, really wants that attack. Now for weapons, you of course do have her signature, which is going to be Absolution, but if you've got Absolution on somebody like, I don't know, Benny, and you want to use a different weapon on her, well, you do have some options. One of them is going to be, of course, Mist Splitter, but that's Kaching's signature, so it belongs on Kaching. Another option is going to be Araku, which is Shiori's signature. In this specific weapon, though, you do need a Geo character in your team to cause a Geo-related reaction, so that way she gets the full use of this buff, which she very much can use this weapon fully for the buff. I would say that you almost want to use this more in a Quicken team because it's going to have a lower base attack than something like Absolution or Mist Splitter, and she won't care about that as much in the Quicken team. You do, of course, have the Black Sword, which is going to be a Battle Pass weapon that's going to get up her crit rate, as well as going to increase the damage dealt by her normal and her charge attacks. And then it's going to give her like a little bit of HP. You don't necessarily care about that part. It's going to be the increase in the normal and charge attack damage that we really like. Then, of course, you do have the Fontaine craftable weapon, Finale of the Deep, which is going to be really, really good for her. I believe it is her best 4-star option. When using Elemental Skill, the attack is going to increase by 12%, and then its Bond of Life is going to be granted. And then once you clear the Bond of Life, it's going to give like more attack to her. So this is a really, really good option for Clorinde to use as a free-to-play weapon. And then, of course, you do always have the good old reliable Harbinger of Dawn. Now, the Harbinger of Dawn would also probably be better in something like a Quicken or Aggravate team, kind of like Araku, because of that super low base attack that both Harbinger of Dawn and Araku are going to have. Harbinger of Dawn obviously more than Araku. In something like an Aggravate team, she's not going to care as much as having that lower base attack as she would in like a Chevy overloaded team where you want to stack her with as much attack as possible. In the Quicken Aggravate team, she is going to behave very, very similar to Kaching. This is probably another reason why people are saying that she is a better Kaching now, or she power crept Kaching. But you do need to make sure that in a team like that, you do have enough Dendro application to kind of keep up with her Electro. So Nahida is going to be very, very good. C4 plus Kirara with her shield is going to be very, very good, especially if you're going to be doing Harbinger of Dawn to make sure that she stays healthy. You can also put like Instructor set on Kirara to give even more EM. Over to Clorinde, also using Nahida's burst. There's a lot of things that you can do to get Clorinde the EM that you would want while still having an attack Sands on her, because that's going to be much, much more valuable. Now that is going to be it for this video. Kuki has green hair. I have green hair in this PNG tuber model, and I will see you in the next one.